Okay, first and foremost, I want to thank God, and I want to shout out the man that I actually got this idea from. Okay, this was inspired by Jesus Christ, but I want to shout out a rapper named B. Dot the God, because I watch battle rap and I came across this artist, and he came out with a album called Syzygy, and what the album represents is the duality coming together as one, the yin and yang coming together as one. And what this word Syzygy, it represents, like, okay, so when you see like a sun and a moon coming together into alignment, and then you have a solar eclipse, this is called a Syzygy, because it means that these two things that are contrary, they come together in alignment as one. So depending on where you are in the world, you would see the solar eclipse, but you can't see the solar eclipse unless you're in a perfect place. So let's say, like, theoretically, like, I'm in Africa, and if I see this solar eclipse, because the earth rotates, the solar eclipse won't be there forever, right? But in some places in the world, if I see the solar eclipse in Africa, you probably won't see it in America. If you see it in America, you probably would not see it in Africa. You get what I'm saying? So clearly you guys get the idea. These two things that really wouldn't normally be together, they join together and they're yoked together as one. So Jesus being the living manifestation of that concept, right? You have the sinful body, which is imperfect because it's flawed, because it's sin. Sin is synonymous with death. A body that is not eternal. But here you have Jesus, the eternal one, puts himself in this vessel that is not internal, that is perishable, as the items in grandma's grocery bag, right? To show the people that you are not this, right? You are more than this. But here you have this union of two things that seem contrary to one another, that seem like basically, incompatible, right? Still, in a God miraculous way, these two things can exist as one. I can't quite say coexist, because they're one. They're weaved together as one. Like, we're living, breathing souls in this vessel called flesh. So the Syzygy represents these two things in union that are contrary, right? It's kind of like, think of it like this. For you Star Wars fans out there, you know the Jedi side of the Force is supposed to be good, and then the Sith side is supposed to be bad. Well, imagine if you have both as one. And what is that oneness? Well, the oneness is the Force itself. Not the labels that you put on it, but rather accepting it for the entire the totality of the true nature of what it is. It's absolute. It's whole. You get what I'm saying? So that being said, you shouldn't look at things as a duality. So, that duality doesn't really exist. I think that that's just something that people put, like the names that they put on certain things. So, instead of just mastering the Force and mastering your energy and accepting all parts of it, I feel like that's the key to the Syzygy. So, just came across this word, and I felt like it's a very creative word that I never heard before. So I started using this word more to describe that oneness. Yeah, so shout out to B Dot to God for this, and yeah, man, they're just trying to accept your Syzygy. And they also talk about the higher self and the lower self, and when these two things come together, that's also a part of us. Some people might feel like hypocrites in a sense, because they might go to church one day, but then they still want to go enjoy themselves at the club or to go out with friends and have a good time. They might want to drink wine, but then they might, in one hand, try to stop drinking. You get what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, how can I be two things that seem contrary in one body? You get what I'm saying? And I feel like that's also the Syzygy. You have to accept all parts of yourself and just live, instead of trying to be all Sith or all Jedi or all yin or all yang, because no one is perfect. Even people that try to live a completely evil life, that's not realistic, because they're naturally good people. And then on the other side of that, people trying to be this perfect Jesus Christ-like persona all the time, that's also not realistic. So you have to accept the Syzygy of who you are. And remember, the Syzygy means two things that are opposite that come together and they're yoked together as one. So we are that living Syzygy. Jesus was that living Syzygy, right? They said he was pure, he was a chosen one, but he still enjoyed hanging out with his friends. He was still human just as much as he was God, and he was trying to show us that we are that too. We're the same thing, But having faith is one thing, but you have to really, really, truly believe that wholeheartedly, you know what I mean? That you still are that internal good, because God blew his breath into you, like how he blew his breath into Adam. And Adam, we are descendants of Adam, just like we are all descendants of Jesus Christ, Yeshua. Yeshua's spirit is in that breath because his spirit is in us. That's why the scriptures say, better he that's in you than he that is in the world. Another thing I want to point out is that be careful who teaches you guys about the scriptures, because what the pastors say is one thing, what the people that's teaching it is one thing, okay? But what you're reading in the book, it's about your connection with the Bible. Because, like, for instance, I love my dad, but at the same time, he did not write that book. And he finds himself in a way trying to lead me, but he can't lead me. The Holy Spirit leads me. You get what I'm saying? So the Holy Spirit will give you things that surpasses any knowledge that any pastor, anybody like your mom, your dad, anything that can tell. Because it's really the connection between you and God. And your parents and other people are not the mediator between your relationship with God. You get what I'm saying? Because the God is the other part of you. So in John 10:30, Jesus says, I and my Father are one. That's the Syzygy. Because here you say, oh, I'm not God. But you're trying to be one with something that is not yourself. You say, okay, God is God and I'm me. Okay, well, focus on the Syzygy. Focus on the oneness of these two things that seem contrary and make them together as one. So this is my new favorite word, talking about the Syzygy, because the Syzygy basically is where the truth resides, And I think that this definitely shows that this is where the secret is. This is where the key is. And I feel like the Syzygy also can represent the unity in religions. So how can you have the Bible and the Quran, someone that is a faith, they're into the Christian faith, and then you have another person that is Islamic. How can they still exist as one? Well, if they both teach a common thing, maybe we should build off of that common thing that's related, right? That's where the connection is. So say like, well, Islam believes in one God. Well, Christianity believes in one God, right? On top of that, their gods are both the gods of Abraham. That's another connection. We believe in the same prophet Jesus. Of course, they don't believe that he's the son of God, but they believe that he's important, right? So that shows that I feel like if we focus on the same Syzygy, the fact that we're all human, the fact that we're all living, and the fact that we believe in God, we should just concentrate on that. Because if anything else we concentrate on that prevents the Syzygy, we should not mess with it. You get what I'm saying? Because it's destructive. It's just like everybody that's born here, the Syzygy took place. Okay? Love, right? Which manifested people to be born, right? Love making, the unity between male and female, mother and father, right? They created the Syzygy of love, allowed that Syzygy to happen to where a birth is manifested, to where I'm born, you're born again. But that came from the unity of these two things that are considered to be contrary or different. But are they really that contrary? You get what I'm saying? So, the Syzygy is the key. And I feel like, man, if people really focused on the true unity in things, they would this place would be healed from its illness. And I feel like that's why there's an imbalance, right? You're seeing an overload of one thing to where it's not equal, right? It's not leveled out, which is why it's a lot of mayhem that's going on in this world. And so that's really all I wanted to talk about, guys, is just focus on thyself and loving thyself. But I feel like love is where that Syzygy is, that allows all things that are different to come together. And if we don't focus on that, we destroy that Syzygy, because that Syzygy is God. All right, peace, love, and light.